Diversified. Classroom Management 101. Inclusive and diversified. Classroom Management 101. Inclusive and diversified. Classroom Management 101.
Hello, everybody. This is Sheniynah Richardson of SheRich Educational Consulting with blog number 10, How to Close Opportunities for Students Seeking to Hijack Your Lesson Plans. I have the fabulous 9 tips that can help you think about ways to close these opportunities. Number 1, accept student feedback. Well, we already know that students have their own way of expressing things, and a lot of times it could be very harsh the way things are explained. So, as a teacher, I encourage you to create a platform or a format for students to express their opinions in a structured way. This feedback will help you know how to teach your students. Also, it will foster a student-centered classroom environment. Number 2, know what time it is all the time, because you don't want to run out of lesson. Because if you run out of lesson and there is time left over, students will find very creative ways to fill in that gap. Also, if you run overtime, it creates a confusion and a hustle and bustle, and students have difficulty transitioning from one phase of learning to the next. So you want to be on top of it. And any hint of disorganization in your classroom just sets up the playing field for students to wow out. Okay? So you want to be on top of that and be aware of your time constraints and pacing, which I talked about a lot in blog 5, so you may want to revisit that one. Number 3, engage a holla back, y'all. Basically, it's just a simple call and response. When I say hey, you say hi, hey. And basically, it's just to see if your students are paying attention, and also you can use it as an informal assessment to see how much students have learned, and if any additional scaffolding is needed in that area that you're teaching. Number 4, don't add fuel to the fire. It is never a good idea to engage in a verbal altercation with a student for the simple fact that you are the teacher, you are the authority, and you're basically diminishing your power and standing at the same level as where the student is standing, and that's not cool at all. So at all times you want to maintain a strong presence, and that's where I talked about in blog number 9, you follow your behavior tiers. No matter what the student is saying or how they are behaving, you follow protocol. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Never engage with them, because it just adds fuel to the fire, as I said, and it makes for an out of control classroom. Number 5, always have a to be continued, which basically means that you're going to extend and expound on your lesson. You're not just going to have a wham bam thank you ma'am. You're going to offer opportunities for extended learning and project based learning, which I also talked about in a previous blog. You need to check that out for ideas about what I'm discussing as we speak. But you never want to just set a minimum standard and say, okay, this is as high as you need to go. This is as much as you need to learn. No, always offer extended opportunities for upgrade. Because if students start to get bored, you know what happens. They disrupt class and you end up having more behavioral infractions than you want. Number 6, work through your assessments. Place yourself in the student's shoes. Work out any activities that you're going to assign to troubleshoot for potential problems that may occur throughout the lesson. Because if you work it out beforehand, you could say, okay, well, number 6 is going to trip them up and they're going to be confused. Let me correct that. Or let me explain what I mean. Because any insert of misinterpreted instruction or unclear directions, just again, it opens a platform for students to rebel and shut down and say, hey, I'm not doing this because I don't know what to do. So to close that gap, we want to review our lesson plans and make sure that they're on point, they're legible, and the directions are easily understood. Number 7, know when your students are asking for help. Now, in many of my blogs, I have explained that don't assume that students are deliberately choosing to misbehave. Many times, students are frustrated or confused or anxious, and they don't necessarily know how to communicate that they need help. So they may act out in ways that you're like, whoa, okay, is that really necessary? But they don't know how to express themselves. And that's where you, as a teacher, have to pick up on these signs and address the issue. Because if you just reach in with a bunch of negativity and you're not addressing the real issue, then it's just gonna combust into a larger, bigger wildfire. But it's a simple thing as saying, hey, how can I help you? What do you need me to help you with? Let me see. Simple as that. Number 8, flip disruptions into teachable moments. So every teacher has a story about how it was when they were coming up. When a student wants to derail a lesson by inserting some off-task comment or inserting some off-task behavior, you can redirect it and apply that off-task behavior to a story that happened in the 90s or the 80s or when you were in school and say, hey, you know what? I knew a guy that was just like you. And let me tell you what happened. And just make light of the situation. You don't have to be so serious and like, sit down, be quiet, And that also builds a rapport because, believe it or not, students are actually searching for ways to connect with their teachers. And if you offer them a little light about your past or some things that you have experienced, then they will be more up to connecting with you, and you gain their respect and their compliance at the same time. Number 9, celebrate small successes. Now, every student is not going to be on the honor roll. Every student is not going to read like a newscaster. Every student is not going to solve mathematical equations like Albert Einstein, and it's okay. But every child has something that they do right and that they're good at. Basically, if a student opens the door for everybody that comes in the classroom, or maybe you have a student that straightens out the desk at the end of each class, well, if they're doing it, give them credit for what they do and celebrate them, because students that feel detached and do not feel included in the classroom environment, they tend to disconnect and misbehave. So if they are honored in their abilities of what they are engaging in, then you get better results out of them. And that is the fabulous 9, that magic number. So that's all I have for now. But if you have not seen my new music video, The Teacher's Jam, is here on this playlist. Why don't you take a look at it and tell me what you think about it? Also, be sure to follow my hashtag time, the number 2, tech up teaching. And I will be back on next Sunday with blog number 11. And that deals with how to use lesson plans to teach character education. And we all know that a little more character education is not going to hurt anybody. So, I'll see you soon, and thanks for riding this train with me. Bye.
Inclusive and diversified. Classroom management 101.